Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and in today's video we're going to take an outing with some Chinese heavy tanks. And today our tour guide is going to be K-Fuffle. So we're kicking proceedings off with the IS-2. This is the tier 7 Chinese heavy tank. It's actually the first heavy tank the Chinese get access to. They don't get tier 5 and 6 heavies. And I've got a full review of this machine if you're interested, but it's essentially, in many respects, the same as the Soviet IS. There are a few minor differences, and for me the minor differences mean that I prefer the IS-2 to the IS. But they are quite minor differences. If you like one, you'll probably like the other, and if you don't like one, you probably won't like the other. So, K-Fuffle here is in a tier 8 assault game on Karelia. Now, he's not top tier. The thing is, all of the top tiers on his friendly team are tank destroyers, which in an assault game is not the sort of thing that fills you full of joy. Now, to be fair to them, of those tank destroyers, 3 of them are relatively well armoured. The Ferdinand, the Jagdtiger 88 and the T-28 prototype. Certainly frontally, all 3 of those machines can definitely bounce an awful lot of shots. The fourth, the Borsig, not so much. But if you actually look at where the teams are deploying, that platoon of tier 8 tank destroyers, the Borsig and the what am I talking about? The guys who are not in a platoon even, the Ferdinand and the Jagdtiger, are going up to Campers Hill at G7. The Borsig is going up there as well, which is entirely understandable. His tank is made of tissue paper. At least the T-28 prototype is coming over to actually do some pushing. Now, Fuffle doesn't actually get off to a particularly good start here. He bounces on the T-29 and takes a 120mm shell from the T-28 prototype for his troubles. Like I said, really not the best start. But there we go. I'd also like to point out that Fuffle is a little unusual in that he actually really likes Chinese tanks in this game. A lot of people don't. They tend to be a bit of an acquired taste. In a lot of places, they're kind of... A lot of it is basically a copy-pasta tech tree, which is a bit disappointing. You know, there are many machines in it that are very similar to machines that already exist in the game. And the IS-2 is one of those examples, but in the second replay we'll move on to a machine that is not one of those. Anyway, Fuffle does actually like his Chinese heavy tanks. There's the Jagdtiger 88. Can he pick out the lower plate on that guy? Yes, he can, which is very impressive considering the accuracy on this gun is terrible. And that was a long-range shot, so that's the first bit of damage in 4K. Now, view range on the IS-2 is not the best. He knows he's been spotted though, so he doesn't want to get shot by any of those tank destroyers, but he was side-scraping intelligently around that rock. Or, he started side-scraping intelligently around the side of that rock once he'd already eaten a shell from the T-28 prototype. Now, frontally, the prototype is going to be very, very difficult for K to penetrate unless he loads his one heat shell, which jumps his penetration from, I think it's 175 with regular ammo up to 250? Yeah, up to 250 with the heat shell. The IS-2 doesn't really need the heat ammunition. It didn't when I played it, but I carried a few rounds of it, and you can see K has 1 round here. And the HE rounds are actually quite good because it's a large caliber gun. T-28 prototype, that's his front. Don't bother. But his tracks eat a shell from a Jagdtiger 88, so it wasn't all bad. However, if you, well, I was about to say if you look at the score screens, but the scores have changed very quickly. It was 1-5 at one point, it's now 4-6, so the Allies have made a little bit of a comeback. But there's only 6 minutes of this game left, so the Allies can't play too passively, which is the thing. T-28 prototype looks like he might be distracted, but the Sture Emil is a one-shot, and he has a big gun, so that's definitely a valuable kill for K to pick up. Now, if the T-28 prototype shows his side to K, penetrating the side of a T-28 prot is easy as sin. It's just penetrating the front can be difficult, especially from range when you're in a tier 7 heavy tank. So, we've got a T-29 down there, T-28 prototype, and there's an IS around there somewhere as well. Artillery nukes the T-28 prototype. Well, that's that sorted. And K is trying to find the gun depression to shoot that T-29. Alas, Chinese tanks, gun depression, not so much. He goes down from the hill with a joke that's always made is that Chinese tanks are not allowed to be depressed. puts a shot into the rear of that T-29. Ramming him wasn't the best decision. The T-29, sorry, is actually quite heavy, certainly heavier than the IS-2. Hopefully K is going to reload before this guy, because that guy had the stock turret, and with the stock turret, that 105mm gun that he was using gets quite a long reload time. Scoreline is now even at 10 kills apiece. K has picked up his second kill. He hasn't actually done a phenomenal amount of damage yet, although he's put in a couple of good shots. But this match is really getting now to the crunch stage, with 5 tanks left on each team and 4 minutes of this game left. And in an assault game, that means that the attackers need to get a move on and kill some things. And when you bear in mind that of those 5 tanks, 4 of them are either artillery or tank destroyers who are sitting up on that hill. Ooh, K takes a hit there, but repairs his track, comes around the corner, and blats the IS in the face. Now, K only has 307 health. That means that, well, actually, considering the enemy tanks they have remaining, the E-25 would need 3 or 4 shots to kill him. Sorry, that's a lie. 2 or 3 shots to kill him. The Jagdtiger would need 2. Oh, that was a shot into the E-25, who is burning nicely. He clearly didn't bring a fire extinguisher to the party. Oh, yes he did. He was just slow on using it. Word to the wise, remap your fire extinguisher to the mouse, to the space bar. Makes your life a lot easier. K manages to pick up the kill with 42 of his own health left. Hopefully that artillery doesn't blat him. And that just leaves the Jagdtiger and the Crusader. At this point, the Ferdinand and the Jagdtiger are still sitting up at G7, camping. Give credit where credit's due, the Ferdinand has picked up 4 kills by doing so. But the Borsig of all machines has seen that this is not the time for caution and indecision. This is the time to get stuck in. And actually, to be fair, the Ferdinand looks like he's also coming down to do something. Jagdtiger appears to be glued to that ridgeline, however, which is a little sad. Now, K is clearly a one-shot. Someone could breathe on him and he'd fall over and die. You know, I'm pretty sure the Jagdtiger could probably kill him with a HE round, but there we go. Jagdtiger was last spotted over at E1. Is he still there? Well, your guess is as good as mine. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd fallen back a bit, but I could of course be entirely wrong. You could also argue that at this stage, as he's hunting for that Jagdtiger, K might want to load his 1 heat shell just to try and give himself the best chance of that penetration, but, you know, that can always backfire. And as it is, it's actually the Crusader who he spots. Oh, but there's the Jagdtiger. So, K switches attention to the Jagdtiger. Keeps the rock between himself and that artillery, although of course that's no guarantee that artillery won't be able to hit him anyway. Borsig nails the Crusader. So now it's just this Jagdtiger. K puts in a shot into the side of him, and this Jagdtiger's now in trouble. Doesn't matter which way he looks, someone is going to have his soft, tasty bum. As it is, it's K. 1 more shot into him. The guy's on 80 health. Can K pick up the kill here? Nah, Borsig finishes him off. And there we go. That was the game. And actually, that ended up being quite a nice result. So, let's go and see what the result actually was. So, that Oh, I'm getting my words muddled. That actually ended up being an ace tanker for K in the IS-2, which is something I have yet to achieve in the tank. I'll rebuy it at some point and try and hunt that ace, as well as a bunch of ribbons. What have we got there? We've got Fighter, Fire for Effect, Spotter, Duelist, Bruiser, and Hand of God. I don't know why I swapped the order of Bruiser and Hand of God over at the end. Not a clue, but there we go. K got 2,924 damage, 4 kills, and 1,336 base experience. I have no idea why what replays thinks K was in a platoon in that game. He wasn't. In fact, if you look at it, it says he was platooned with no one. What are you going to do? Bugs for the win. That Jagdtiger 88, who was up on the hill, by the way, and never moved from that hill, he travelled 1.25 kilometres, fired 1 shot, and did 0 damage. And survived. That was quite special. Never mind, there's K for you. 12 shots fired, 10 hits, 9 penetrations for that damage count. Bearing in mind he did damage higher tier tanks as well. If you look at the machines he actually damaged, IS, same tier, T-29, same tier, Stuart Emil, same tier, E-25, same tier, Jagdtiger, higher tier. So he didn't shoot anything that was a lower tier than him, so that will give him a positive XP multiplier. Most of the damage he did was at relatively close range, which is the sort of thing you can expect with the IS-2. He received 7 hits, of which 4 pen, 3 didn't, and that left him with relatively little damage actually blocked by armor. Most of the shots that didn't penetrate, or that didn't do damage to him, were eaten by the tracks. He also got 1102 assistance damage into the bargain, and made a profit of 14, almost 15,000 credits, with a standard account. So that was fairly nice from him. Let's move on to the next one. Here we are with the second game. This time K is taking out the Tier 8 Chinese heavy tank, but this is not the regular Tier 8 heavy, this is the premium heavy tank, the 112. Now, personally, I have a particular interest in seeing how this game goes, because I, a little while ago, picked up the 112. There was a special offer on, and I got my hands on it. But my experience with it has been rather, let's say, rocky. So I'll be interested to see how Kay does, to see if I can actually pick up some tips on how to use this blasted tank. It's gotten a little bit better with time, but my opinion of it is not particularly positive. Anyway, this is a game on Ruinberg. K is top tier. The 112 gets limited matchmaking. K is top tier, and it's a standard game. He is going into the town like a good little heavy tank. You'd be surprised the number of people who don't. God, it gets frustrating sometimes. So what is it that kind of distinguishes the 112? Well, it's a very Chinese tank, in that the lower plate is made of tissue paper, wishful thinking, and fuel tanks. Fire. Pain. So your lower plate sucks. Your upper plate is 120mm thick and has a good angle on it. Your turret is pretty good, but you have rather large commander's cupolas, which makes it kind of awkward. As for the gun, well, it's essentially the same gun K was using in the IS-2 game just now. It's that sort of Russian-Chinese 122mm heavy tank gun with 175 average penetration, 390 alpha damage, and terrible gunsoft stats. Now this is, I mean, you might at first look at it and think that's basically the same gun as the IS-6, and the IS-6 does well enough. Yeah, but this one is just worse. It's got a worse reload time, worse bloom stats, worse effective aim time. You know, all those stats that the garage doesn't show you, they're worse on this than the IS-6. Now, you could see that K was actually trying to shoot for the lower plate of the IS-3 there. The IS-3's lower plate is no longer really a weakness. It was at one point, it's not really at the moment. In fact, if you want to penetrate the IS-3 frontally with this gun, your options are rather limited. Now that was actually a penetration. If you look at the IS-3, he's actually kind of wedging the front of his tank up a little bit. But if you were to try and do this now, that shot would most likely bounce. I can't actually remember if this game was before or after the IS-3 got a HD remodel. Can't recall. You can see there that K takes a shot from the FV304, that's the British Tier 6 artillery piece, and that shot takes out his gun. Now, interestingly, K is successfully managing to side-scrape this corner. I'm kind of surprised here, because my experience of side-scraping in this tank is that firstly you have to be very careful, because the side armor is, well, not terrible, not actually that good. And secondly, because anyone with any common sense knows that the lower plate on this tank is garbage, and it's incredibly difficult to hide that, unless you're specifically trying to go hull down. So I always find side-scraping in this machine slightly awkward, but K's managing to do it with great aplomb, and he's certainly taken these shots to the, on the chin. Thinking about it, know that the IS-3 there does have those little additional points, those tracks on the pike nose, so it looks like that is the HD model of the IS-3. Thinking about it, the IS-3 is poking out and not angling his pike nose. In fact, well, he is angling his pike nose, which is a bit of a problem, because that's about the only way that K is going to reliably penetrate the front of his tank. Meanwhile, the IS-3 is not aiming his shots, and he's just tracking K again and again. Someone finally manages to put in a good amount of damage there, and K is finally being reduced just below 1,000 health. Lower plate of the Tiger P, yes, and now you can see that K is actually taking a fair amount of damage. Now he's got the wreck of his ally in front of him to kind of go hull down on, which is great, because hello shoulder plate of the Tiger P. Nice to see K knows his weak spots. Because the lower plate of the 112 is so bad, and so you want to cover it up at all costs. K does not just blitz around that corner, he takes his time. The IS-3 wedges the back of his tank up, which is the worst thing he could possibly have done in that situation. It was incredibly dumb, and K's able to kill him. If the IS-3 had just stayed front on and wiggled a little bit to try and deny shots at his weak roof armour, K would have had a lot of trouble penetrating him unless he'd loaded the high explosive anti-tank ammunition, which K does have a little bit of. But there we go, the guy didn't do that. The IS-3 wasn't very good. And K also there managing to pick up the kill on the IS. T-29 is dead. FV-304 is scuttling as fast as his little legs will carry him, which in the case of the FV is actually pretty damn quick. For those who don't know, the FV is technically an artillery piece, but it's kind of what happens when a Hummel and an ELC have a night of passion together. It's a weird little tank. It's like a light tank with a howitzer strapped to the top of it. It's a strange little machine. I've heard it's a lot of fun. There's that gun for you. K doesn't actually kill the artillery, he only tracks him. Can he pick up the kill on the M44? Come on, get that sucker. Yes, there we go. That leaves a Borsig, which can be problematic, a T-44, and another artillery piece, that FV-207. There is the FV. K is actually loading high explosive at this point for the Borsig, but in trying to take out the Borsig, he takes a couple of shots in the side, which is awkward. And then the T-44 manages to finish him off as he closes with the Borsig. Bit of a shame that the artillery and the medium tank there managed to ambush K as he was going after the Borsig. But there we go. These things happen. There's only 3 of them left on the enemy team. Hopefully the friendly team should be able to finish these guys off. Looks like the IS-3 is trying to head them off. So let's just speed this along a little bit. Oh dear. There's still 3 of them left. The friendly team is kind of making this slightly hard work, if I'm honest. Are we actually going to see any combat? Has anyone got the gumption to go and do something? Wow. They're playing this incredibly cautiously. There's the FV-207. Hellcat looks like he has a shot, but the IS-3 manages to pick up the kill. Just the T-44 and the Borsig remaining. Come on, guys. And there we go. Borsig is dead. And with the Borsig dead, suddenly the friendly team find their courage and go and chase down that T-44. They're also capping this at the same time. So this should be a fairly comfortable win. There's the T-44. Manages to bounce a couple of shots though, well played to him. Wow, this game has gone on a lot longer than I expected, I will be honest. He's got 240 health left. Come on. Someone grow some balls and kill him. Hellcat, you can take a shot from him unless he has HE loaded, and he probably doesn't. There he is. No, that's taking a shot on the move in a Hellcat, which is kind of a cardinal sin. Yes, someone's put a shot into the T-44. Hellcat flubs his shot. Artillery finally kills him. There we go. Good God. Wow, it's a miracle they won that. The rest of the team were... Anyway, I'm not going to pass judgment. Let's just go and have a look and see how well K did. So, perhaps surprisingly, perhaps unsurprisingly, I don't know, it depends on your perspective. That was an ace tanker for K. Fighter, duelist, fire for effect, and the high caliber medal. Having a look at, and also, judging by the title that K's given it, also he completed heavy tank mission 15 for the Stug 4. He did 3,424 damage, 4 kills, and got 1,351 base experience, which is quite a tasty result. Commiserations to the enemy IS, who did over 3,000 damage, but wasn't quite able to pull a win out of that game. 16 shots fired, 16 hits, 11 penetrations for that damage count. K received 18 hits, of which 10 did not penetrate, 1,500 damage blocked by armour, and 784 assistance damage, which was quite a nice showing. Now, here's the thing, one of the things with the 112. K made 74,000 credits. Once you've taken away the repair costs of the vehicle, alright, fair enough. Consumables, fine. But the ammunition costs, these 122mm shells cost just over 1,000 credits each. Even before you start looking at the premium ammo, K made a profit of 47,000 credits. Now that's not bad, but for the amount of damage he did, other tier 8 premiums make more money. If you look at it with premium account, that goes up to 84,000 credits profit. Nonetheless, it was a ×3 experience of event, so K made 4,200 basically experience as well on his 112. So that was a rather nice showing, and interesting for me. I'm apparently the 112 is better at side scraping than I got the impression it was. So I'll give it another go at some point and see how well it does. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed those two games. If you did, please feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.